very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
Really?
Brexit means Brexit.
Why?
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
China.
What?
China.
What?
China.
We looked at the dining table and saw an opportunity to play whiff-waff.
Strong and stable.
Stood alone last night as
Kipper, you are fake news.
Why?
the reality may be that you don't know what is going on, but people won't be able to tell the difference.
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible.
Why? Just why?
Welcome back to Why Just Why, folks. You are joining us on our third episode on Donald J. Trump.
Yay.
Yeah, right, folks.
That sounded a bit more enthusiastic than the last couple. We haven't got any ghosts in the room this time.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was. Just mentioned Donald and then just poltergeists come out of the woodwork to just haunt us.
His face.
Like his awful tangerine face.
Oh, God, I have nightmares. If you see that too early before you go to bed, he is bound to just pop up somewhere.
Yeah, you see him just painted on the back of your eyelids every time you close your eyes.
Yeah, every time you blink, you get big fast enough. I can see him. like a Jesus or something.
just pouncing at you.
I can see it. It's Trump.
It's China.
yeah.
Do you like that little squiggly thing in the light that you get? Like, everyone gets it sometimes, like the little...
A little like eye floater things.
Yeah. It's just Trump.
Just outline of Trump.
Just his head just floating around. Don't know why he's doing
Make America great again.
Don't know why he's doing the Bill Crosby face.
I'm gonna build a wall. And you're gonna pay. So as always, joining me to my left is Ian Reynolds.
Yeah, right, folks.
To my right is Dave Tinsley.
Hello.
And he sounds so excited to be here.
Oh, no, I'm just tired.
And as always, I am Craig Taylor. A quick recap of what we covered last week. We were talking about Donald himself and the business ventures that he's actually been undertaking, which kind of put him on the map. So the main one we spoke about was the Trump Tower. Mm-hmm. We spoke about the problems that he faced in doing it, the fact that it actually was a relatively successful project. There wasn't really much that went wrong with it. And then we spoke about his kind of divergence into the gambling industry in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And we left you where we were just talking about him maybe making a little bit of a risky move by acquiring a third casino in the same area.
And that casino is...
Brain fart.
The Trump Taj Mahal.
Oh, so it would be more dramatic.
I like brain fart, but
The Trump brain fart. I have
Just
the
say-
best brain farts of all brain farts. Okay, so the Trump Taj Mahal, we're going to start talking about the actual build itself. So the Taj Mahal wasn't actually originally anyway, it wasn't actually Trump's. It was started in 1983 by a company called Resorts International, and they already owned a casino hotel within Atlantic City called the Resorts Casino Hotel, funnily enough. Their original budget was around $250 million, and they wanted it to be named the United States Hotel in reference to the city's first like proper major big hotel.
Terrible name.
Yeah, awful name, obviously.
no, brilliant name. Because in America, that would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Yeah.
United States, casino. Oh, this is fucking awesome, dude.
Country is a big...
Yeah. It's going to have like a big fuck off eagle at the front of it, hasn't it?
Oh, everyone's got to have a great big eagle at the front of it. It's like, do you need some freedom? I think you need some freedom.
I've loads of money go, oh, for fuck's God damn it. What's his name?
Big on.
Elvis Presley. Boom.
Have a big fuck off one of them Elvis Presleys.
No, I was gonna go say you're gonna have like a load of Elvis Presleys on the opening like ceremony and going around. And,
Well, when you flush the train, it's like, because you know he died on the bog. Anyway, so moving on.
A moment, fellas, for the king.
So basically, the guy who ran Resorts International, he died in '86. So the resort itself, the Taj, wasn't actually complete. It was halfway through. Well, it was partially built. I wouldn't like to say it was halfway through. At this point, the business itself became kind of the target of a takeover, and Donald, who saw this hotel, especially in an area where he already owned two casino hotels, as bigger more spangly and better than his, went, "Oh my God, I have to have the biggest, the best, and the most expensive things ever."
Do you know what? Your version of Trump is probably doing my head in.
It's making me like Trump.
You would say that, wouldn't you? Oh, yeah.
Let's hear your version of Trump then. Fuck the periods. Go on.
No.
Oh, Mr. Trump!
His wig's just lifted up.
Someone's talking about me. So he wanted it because it was the biggest and best and most spangly thing he could find, and he made a bid for a controlling stake in the company that owned the Taj, and he got that for $79 million in
That's a bargain, then.
87. So, well, considering the place, yeah, pretty much a
How
bargain.
much tax did he pay on that, though?
Well,
They're asking the real questions.
did
he pay any
God
tax on
only
that?
knows. God only knows. Realistically, that 79 million was probably part of the tax rebate that he got on the Hyatt in the first place. So, New Jersey law prohibited anyone from owning more than 3 casinos in the same place. So, he planned to close the original casino hotel that the place already had and then use it as like another hotel for the Taj.
Right.
So, it was even supposed to be even bigger. At this point, the budget ballooned to something ridiculous like 900 million. So, it was supposed to only be 250 million, but you know, Trump being Trump, everything's got to be bigger, everything's got to be better. And he was trying to find a way to find an extra 550 million to complete the Taj. Couldn't find the financing, and then the company itself was claiming to be near bankruptcy in 88. So at this point, he was trying to sell off the stock, and Trump said he'd buy all outstanding stock for about $22 a share. Someone else come in, a television producer called Merv Griffin, and he said he was going to spend $35 a share, so he outbid him, and then a big legal battle started between them. They started fighting each other in the courts, and eventually what happened was they reached a settlement. Merv Griffin purchased the company. Trump purchased the Taj from the company for $273 million. So now the Taj was his.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't the company's, it was his. So he had nothing to do with the other one. He didn't have to close anything because he owned 2 casinos. The Taj was going to be his third.
Could he kick out the company from the building?
Well, yeah, the Taj was his then. It was nothing to do with that company. So that then become the Trump Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the Resorts International. Resorts International wasn't even a thing then. This is now where he's got to find the extra $675 million that he now needs to complete the construction of the Taj.
He'll have to start lifting up the couch, see what changes in there.
Yeah. Well, Trump being Trump, obviously this is when he goes on the charm offensive. He's telling everyone that this is, as we mentioned in the last one, the biggest building ever. It's going to be the most expensive building ever. It's going to be $1 billion building. Who's ever heard of $1 billion building? No one's ever heard of $1 billion building.
Yeah.
It's the best $1 billion building in the world. And he starts basically just spewing all of this stuff to the media. He's telling everyone that it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the most extravagant thing ever. And banks are falling over themselves to give him money.
Yeah.
Banks are just waiting in line to go, oh, we want a piece of this, we want a piece of this. In actual fact, banks were not.
Surprise,
Surprise, surprise. Banks were not standing in line to try and give him money. So he had to try and find somewhere else to get it. On this as well, the actual Gaming Commission turned around to Trump and was saying about, you need to find a legitimate way to finance this hotel or we're not going to give you a gaming license.
Yeah.
So he can't just go off and get some random high risk like bonds market loan. He's got to find a legitimate, decent, sustainable way of getting this money. He sits down in front of the gaming commission. He's like, "Look, I've got two casinos already. I'm not going to fuck you over. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. Don't worry.
Trust me, guy.
Trust me."
The classic. I've got 2 casinos.
Hey, guy. Relax, guy. And it's just like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And junk bonds. Who would finance a casino with junk bonds? I would never finance a casino with junk. I'm horrified that you think I would finance a casino with junk bonds.
I'm horrified that you found out that I did.
Sorry, am I speaking out loud?
Yeah. So they turn around, they say, okay, fine, we'll give you your license, it's fine, we trust you, you're cool.
We like you, guy.
We like you, guy.
I don't know.
I don't know where where's the like South Park Saddam Hussein come from? Anyway.
He's about on par, isn't it?
It is pretty much on par.
Just got to move your head like, oh, God.
Right, so at this point he's got kind of the go ahead to finance this casino. He knows he's going to get a license. It's all good, it's all gravy. And
They
he's
fell for that casino trick.
He's definitely not gonna go and get junk bonds. So what's the first thing he does? He goes and gets a loan for the entire 675 million to purchase and complete the casino, primarily through junk bonds. At an unprecedented 14% interest rate. 14% on 675 million.
Jesus Christ.
It's unreal. There was an analyst on one of the documentaries I watched, and he was saying that in order to just pay off the loan, not even to be properly in profit, that casino would have to clear. You know, companies generally in profit if they make more money than they spend. If that's the case with a casino, they don't call it a profit, they call it a win, because it's all based on betting. So for a casino to be in profit, they say, oh, we've had, I don't know, a $2 million win this week, so that company will have made $2 million profit. So he said, in order for that to actually pay off its debts, they would have to be in excess of a $1 million per day win in that casino.
Wow.
And that is, at that time, totally unheard of.
Yeah.
Not just in Atlantic City, but in any casino in the world at that point ever.
So was it a proper rigged casino then?
Well, no, it was never gonna happen, because even if it was the most rigged casino in the world, you'd have to get enough people in the doors to lose $1 million.
Oh yeah.
Every single day just to start paying that off, because the interest, it was crippling amounts of interest. So you could see it just wasn't going to work. So the building starts going off without a hitch in terms of the public perception. Everyone thought it was looking great. Everyone thought it was going well. The building was going up. The contractors were coming in, and everything was looking as though it was going to be the crown jewel of the Trump empire, really. During this time, the other casinos are actually still doing pretty well. But then other analysts are looking at this and going, this is going to be the third casino in Atlantic City, owned by the same guy, that's going to be competing against each other. What's going to happen to the other two? Because he saw what was happening between the Plaza and the Castle.
Yeah.
And the Castle was constantly fighting with the Plaza.
Yeah.
And the Plaza was constantly fighting with the Castle, and they were taking things off each other. This was going to be a mega casino.
I don't get how he thinks. He's saying he's wanted to try to pay his debts now. He wanted to win $1 million a week. Was it?
$1 million a day.
$1 million a day, even. Fuck me. But if he's got, if he's got these other two casinos not far from it, how all the people going there as well? He's taking them. He needs to close them down for that to go to the Taj Mahal, doesn't
Well, realistically, yeah. I mean, his own businesses are going to be taking money away from the business that he's trying to pay the debts back off.
Yeah.
I don't know much about business, but on a very simple term, that's a really bad business idea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you don't compete with yourself. How can you compete with yourself? It's just, it's stupid.
Trump can.
Oh yeah, Trump can.
And he's got to be the best at it as well.
It's going to be the best competition, the best casinos, the best place in the world.
See, would he? Oh, because Trump always has to win. But then if he wins against himself, he loses. You'd
But
blow
he'd be
his
the
mind.
best loser.
It's like the Turing test for like a robot. Do you want like that blow up?
Yeah.
You said that to Trump. Well, technically, if you win, yeah, you'll also lose. Trump does not lose.
Probably sells it like
Winner!
he probably sells it like a Rocky montage or something. He's like, you gotta lose to win.
Donald himself, he's got a world-ending confidence in himself, realistically, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It is. It's unreal.
It's like I don't know what can be matched between him and Putin.
I think Putin's more like silent about it though, isn't he? He's like stern-faced and quieter.
But he smiles about it, doesn't he? When you're talking, you say something bad about him, he's smiling, just going, oh, I am amazing.
I think the thing with Putin, though, is that I don't think Donald actually realises that he's a douche, whereas I think Putin knows full well. I think Putin
and revels in it.
Yeah, he just revels in it. I think Putin's more the person who goes, I know all this is bullshit, and I don't care because I'm so powerful. No one can fuck with me anyway.
Also, he's probably thinking, I'll kill you.
Yeah. That's he's smiling, he's going, I'll kill you later.
I can smile because you won't be smiling tomorrow.
He just gives you that look, and then he goes, hope you like Siberia, motherfucker.
That's what I mean. It's more medicine from Putin, but Donald is just like, he's just a big fucking idiot, isn't he?
He is. He's just it's insane that he gets away with what he gets away with, because people know he's a dick. People know he's a dick. He's openly admitted he's
he doesn't care about that. Everything's a strength in his eyes. He's got no weaknesses.
He's got no weaknesses. Well, this is another one, is that there was a securities analyst who was reporting that the Taj had literally no chance of success when this was getting built before it opened. Yeah, all the way through he was saying... yeah, who'd have thunk? So this securities analyst, and it was for Financial Times, I think it was, and he put out this story saying that if you look at all of the figures, if you look at all the facts, no hotel, no casino in the entirety of Atlantic City or even the world has ever made this much money. And he said, when this casino opens, I think it's going to have an insanely record-breaking time. It's going to have a few months where everything's looking gravy, everything's looking golden, but once it gets to that kind of holiday season and it's gone and everyone's lost a bit of money and there's not going to be that many tourists around, he's not going to make anywhere near enough money that he needs to, and he's not going to be able to cover his bills, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, because even if he could make that, it'll just be within the first few months or something, where he gets the whole crowds. But it gets to the point where you can't keep regulars going there.
No,
like
there's never going to be like that favour for it. But Donald being Donald, what do you think the first thing he did was?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
It's like he's read a children's book. I know I can. I think I can. I can.
The end.
Yeah, that's it. Best book, number one book.
That's basically what the art of the deal is, if you've never read it.
Can't get past the first two words.
You're thinking about Donald, someone said something negative about him in the press, and he's pissed off about it. What's the next thing he does?
He sues.
He sues, or at least he threatens to sue. The first thing he does is he sends a letter to the paper that's employing this guy.
Right.
And he says, either you get him to print a full, complete and unequivocal retraction of what he's just said and publicly apologise for everything, or you sack him right now. And they went, okay, we'll sack him right now because we're not getting into a legal fight with you. And they just sacked him.
What?
Yeah, they just sacked the guy. Just straight off the bat, just sacked him. The guy's been like a securities analyst for about 30 years. He knows what he's talking about, and as history shows, he was fucking right. But he got sacked over it because Donald, being Donald, cannot have anything bad said to him in the news media whatsoever.
It's so weird, isn't it?
I mean, it's kind of good that we're a little fledgling podcast, because if we had any kind of clout or anything, we probably already have his solicitors on the phone to us going, cease and desist everything you're saying about Donald.
Not unless we get Roger Stone first.
We just swap out just Trump for fart. Use that as a reference. We go, we're not talking about you.
We're not talking about you at all.
Yeah, exactly.
The Grand Hyatt Hotel.
Yeah. Just change little words in there.
just don't even like re-record. Just like edit. Just
Yeah.
We're
It's
talking
not the
about-
Trump Castle, it's the Poop Castle.
Yeah.
No, it's the Drumpf Castle.
The Drumpf.
Yeah, oh yeah. Change everything.
You'd love that, wouldn't you?
Friedrich Drumpf. Anyway, all this stuff's going out. The public perception is that this is still going to be an amazing, world-class luxury casino hotel. It's going to give you every amenity that you could possibly think of, and it's going to look amazing. While this is going on, there are analysts who are saying, nah, it's not. He's not going to be able to afford this. And then on October the 10th, 1989, that's when they had a bit of a tragedy within the Trump organisation itself. There was a chopper crash, and 3 of the high-level execs in Donald's casino empire were all involved in that, and they all died. There was 5 people who died in total in the chopper crash, but 3 of them were the top level execs.
Yeah, wasn't one of them the fella from the Plaza?
Yes, Stephen Hyde, the head honcho at the Trump Plaza, he was one of the ones who died. Now, that was a massive, massive blow for the Trump organisation in general, realistically, because Stephen Hyde was a good worker, he knew his fucking job, and he was running the Trump Plaza really, really well. That was one of the main areas of profit that the Trump organisation had at the time. So to lose him and to lose him like that was a massive blow. And
Wasn't it the first time apparently Trump actually felt something for someone?
And the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes after him.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, weirdly, yeah, it might have been.
Yeah.
Because there was reports saying that he actually was genuinely upset at the funeral. It was one of the few times where you see him kind of, well, have emotion of a human and
Do you reckon that was
not be
because-
Trump bot.
Do you reckon that was because basically he just lost a good manager?
Like,
I kind of feel like
the really
like-
cynical part of me says, yeah, It probably is. But the part of me that really wants there to be some ounce of humanity inside that man is clawing at the thought that no, maybe he actually cares, but I'm probably wrong.
No, because I remember reading about during the funeral of that fella, he started talking about work. During the week.
He did during the week. He started to talk about who he could replace him with and what they could do in the future and strategies and stuff.
Yeah.
He said they took a hit, but don't worry, they would come back stronger. Right? Wow. As the family, you'll sit there, listen, I go, what?
You're just like, what?
It's like, think back to the art of the deal. Now, his famous things were, if you screw me, I'm going to screw you 10 times more. So God has just screwed him. He's now going to screw God.
He's going to be a better God.
Probably just sees Steve and I'd screw them. You bastard, you died on me.
Yeah.
Prick.
I'm going to screw your family because you're not around.
Basically, yeah.
I'll screw your wife. Goddamn.
This was the time as well where you really start to see Donald's media side come out. And it was one of the first times where it really has to start becoming about him.
It's when he starts saying that he could have been on that chopper and it could have been him in the helicopter crash, when he only ever uses his own chopper.
Oh yeah, it was never going to be him. He's not taking some crappy little charter when he's got his own private chopper.
There was no plans, there was nothing there. As the interviews go on, as people push it more, first he's like, yeah, I would have been on that, and he does kind of step away from it a little bit. It's the only time you actually see him actually really step away from something. Usually he's just defiant on it, isn't he? But he kind of goes, well, yeah, there could have been a chance I would on that. He wouldn't walk away from it like altogether.
Like, well, I decided not to at the last minute.
Yeah.
I was really up for it and then I decided not to. But even then, the damage was done by that. I mean, the whole media side of it was people were reporting this horrible helicopter crash and 5 people died. But then as soon as Trump got his face in front of the cameras and then he just made it entirely about him, and then the whole media spin was Donald Trump has a near-death experience because he almost got on that deadly helicopter. And it's like, it's not about you. It was never about you.
It's about the poor
5
people that
died.
Yeah.
You absolute gremlin.
I mean, I know we've spoke a lot about Trump, but it's still just, even knowing this stuff, it's still shocking to hear, isn't it? When you're reading about him or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's just
stuff like this, because stuff like this happened, what, 80s we're talking about?
This was the late 80s, this was almost 90s.
Now, knowing where he is now, you don't think about stuff like this. Yeah, it's just shocking.
It kind of reminds, I was talking with one of the lads in work, and it kind of reminds you of something. So when he's making it about himself in a public manner like that, what I find irritating, so when something happens, say like Kobe Bryant has died recently, right, in the crash, and you have kind of other famous people putting open, like, public messages out, but to Kobe's family.
Oh yeah.
My thoughts are with you and all stuff like this.
Yeah.
But you do it in a public forum, so that, look at me, everyone can see that I care. I care about, not like sending the joke.
It's like Ice-T and Rick and Morty. I care now.
Yeah.
You made me care.
They're making someone else's misfortune about themselves. That's like free advertising for himself.
Everyone does that now as well.
It's so dirty.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably the only person maybe to do it at a funeral. But
oh yeah,
But he done it first.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's what matters to him.
He
And
does
he
it
did
the
it the
best.
best.
Yeah,
that's it,
that's
the
what
best,
he's done. He's done it the
God,
best.
I got it wrong. How the hell did you?
He's in a public forum. I'll beat that. I can top that.
Yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? It really is.
This whole time is kind of where the house of cards that's being built, and this empire and this image and this amazing, like, golden god, as we were talking about in the last one. That's where that image starts to crack during this time, because a lot of stuff happens all around the same period. So we mentioned in the last one that he's gone on a spending spree. He's got all of this stuff. He's got his book out. He's got games out. He owns an airline. He owns a football team. He owns however many properties at this point. He owns the world famous Plaza Hotel. He now owns, well, let's say 2.5 casinos in Atlantic City, and he is stretched so thin. It's unreal. But if anyone goes to ask him, he'll still turn around and say, oh yeah, I'm worth $57 gajillion.
Got one of his quotes, and he said he's worth 800 billion. His net value,
oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah, we mentioned that one in the last one. 800 billion. every single reporter who spoke to him got a different figure, and then when they call him on a different figure, they go, "Well, I don't know how much I'm worth because I'm worth so much." And it's like, you know
What is
how much
money
you're
anyway?
worth. You know how much you're worth. You scumbag. You little scumbag. You know how much you're worth. And it's at this point where a lot of the stuff starts to show. So with the Taj itself, everything still looks fine. Everything's still going okay. Obviously, the Trump Plaza's had a bit of a knock because their COO has now died. He's got to try and find someone to replace him. And 3 days after this happens, there's a crash in the stock market on Wall Street.
Yeah, this is referred to as the Black Friday crash or the mini crash, and it was over kind of a leveraged buyout between an American airline, and this caused a bit of a bubble, a little bit of a bubble,
Bit of a trough.
yeah, a bit of a
Trough. We're just in a valley at the minute. It's fine.
in the stocks, which was not great for them. Obviously, when the stock market crashes, then comes a recession, right? Whether it's a small one, a bit of austerity, people have less money to spend. And then obviously the panic starts coming, whereas, well, even if it does open now, not many people might have the money to come.
This is like the worst time that he could open. Not even just a mega casino, just a casino in general. People haven't got the money to gamble away.
Yeah,
I didn't even know there was like a mini recession.
Yeah, it was.
It's kind of always one. There's always one.
Yeah.
There's always little ones. Every time like stocks will just jump down and it might come back up again like a year or 6 months or. But it's not as dramatic as maybe like we see now when we're having this austerity when it plummets and it stays down.
Yeah.
Like these are kind of basically blips where it'll drop down. You're already seeing it rise up again, but it'll just take time to get back to where it was.
Oh, I see.
But you can see at this point as well, it's like Donald's kind of shitting himself. There was an interview with Jack O'Donnell, who was another one of the execs in the Trump casinos kind of business.
Yeah.
And he was one of the high ups. He was one of the ones who was kind of around the same management team that obviously died a few days earlier. And he was saying that Donald kind of just started phoning up at random intervals and being like, "How much money have we got in the bank?" And he'd be like, I don't know, 3 million. And he's like, "Right, okay, send me $1.5 million of it." And he'd just be desperate for quick cash just to pump into whatever business that's
so
going on.
He's struggling now.
So he's struggling now, and his public persona is very, very widely different than his private persona because he's stretched himself so thin in how he's just been buying stuff and not thinking about the consequences. One of the other interviews was saying as well is that was where he differed very, very, very greatly from his dad, is that his dad took risks, but he was never reckless.
Yeah.
Whereas Donald was just like, "I have all the money in the world, and I'm the best in the world, so I'm going to buy everything."
Donald, I don't think he was just trying to be rich, though. He wanted to be a rich celebrity, didn't he?
I think he just wanted to be everything. I think that's the thing with Donald.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Not that he still does. He still sees. I think he thinks he'll strive to a point and just become. I am a god.
I am a god.
He's probably thinking almost there.
Almost at the station.
But again, all of this stuff was happening at the same time. This was all like the real end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. At the same time as everything of all of this is still happening, there's another guy who's trying to basically recruit Donald Trump, even back then, during the late 80s, into a presidential campaign run and try and get him to run against George Bush Sr. He wants him as president, and it's this guy called Mike Dunbar, and he basically kind of ran his own little draft Trump campaign, even so much he called it Draft Trump. And then Trump kind of agreed to go along with it. It's like...
It goes to the point, doesn't he? He turns up.
He turns up at one of their events where everyone's expecting this event to be this massive press conference where he goes, "Yeah, I'm running for president." And then, in true Trump style, he basically shafts this guy and just turns around and goes, "Hey, I'm Donald Trump. Aren't I great? Thanks for listening. Bye."
But bangs on about book sales as well. Yeah. Talks about his book again.
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, by the way, I'm not going to be present. Bye."
And it's just...
Thanks.
Thanks for listening, guys. Buy my book.
Any opportunity to just get on telly is
It's nuts. It's just nuts. But even then, there was people out there who wanted Donald to be president.
even back in the 80s.
Even back in the 80s. Even before that, even in the very first interview he ever done, the interviewer asks him, does he want to be president?
Oh, yeah.
And he's even still like, maybe.
Things like when people talk about that aspect, and they always say he had a very presidential vibe to him. Like what?
What a liar.
A lion.
Yeah.
I was gonna go. I stopped myself.
You mean gobshite?
I was gonna go. Everyone was there's a lot of comments made about him having this presidential quality, which I just really can't see. Even as president now.
I was going to say, he is president now, and I still can't see the presidential quality.
Exactly.
But apparently a lot of people have seen it throughout the years, because that wasn't the only time.
I have never seen a president like him, ever.
But you've never seen one like him, so who's seeing these qualities? I don't get this.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at him going, look at the way he holds himself, look at this guy, look at him work. Look
at the way he demolishes those hamburgers.
But then it's also, what's got him president now is stuff like Twitter and all that, isn't it? It's not like back then, didn't have all that stuff. He wasn't out there as much as he is nowadays.
No, the rise of populist politics is just, it's been going on for like the past probably 10-15 years now, where populism is the overriding factor of who gets in or not. It's literally just, let's fuck up whatever anyone thinks is ordinary, let's go completely against that.
But Boris and Trump literally are the proof 100% of that.
100% of that. I mean, the fact that we're leaving the EU, that's another proof of the pudding. Realistically, no one was going to do that.
Are we?
What?
Sorry.
God damn it, no one's over this shit.
Sorry, we've left.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
We're out. As of, this recording's going out, we're out.
Wait, I mean, what?
It's been going on for that long, I forgot it's actually happened. Oh my God.
We're on the other side, guys.
How's it feel to be free? Do you feel any different?
I feel older. Stress.
Yeah, it's given me a couple more grey hairs than I thought I'd have.
I'm like, being out isn't an issue. It's more of just that mad bastard who's
One eternity later.
But even then, he never had any intention of running. It was just a self-promotion thing. But that has been there since the start. And as we carry on, you'll see where he kind of gets these little opportunities to throw his name into the hat for contention in terms of presidential runs. And I think that's one thing that does help him later on the line, is that he keeps on kind of teasing that he's going to go for it and never does until he gets there. He's like, just, might throw it. No, I won't do it yet. No, yeah. No.
And he believes even at that time, people are on the edge of this. He's like, this is so exciting.
Some of them genuinely were. It's crazy. It's weird. And at this point, the first time that he done it with the Draft Trump campaign, this is when Trump was at his height of fame, and everyone thought he was so successful, he was so brilliant, he was a great businessman, he was so savvy. I wouldn't have been surprised if he won, if he actually decided to do it at that
He
point.
probably would have had an easier chance then, though, to be fair, wouldn't he?
I think he could have won, and then not only could he have won, people would have been like, oh yeah, Trump's our president, instead of now they're like, oh God, Trump's our president.
Yeah.
Where everyone's like, oh yeah, Trump's our president.
Yeah. Oh shit. Well, people are really like, oh no, Trump's up. They're either like, Trump or fucking Trump.
Yeah.
There's no like, it's kind of like with the Brexit thing. They're either like 100% one side or the other. There's no middle ground. No one's like not asked.
I think there's a lot of people who aren't asked, but then the media never look for them. The media always look for the extremes because it makes for better television.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard though. I don't think
there was a lot of non-voters as well, though, in that one. Like,
yeah,
hell of a lot.
It's because they didn't spell their own names. They're all from like Kentucky and stuff.
Just holding chicken wing while they're signing the ballot paper.
After
you now make my mark with gravy.
This was all happening in about 89, and while all this was going on, there was more. So we all remember when we were talking about the Grand Hyatt Hotel, and I said there's a little bit more to that story, and
there's always a little bit more to the Trump story.
Yeah. Well, it gets about 89, and New York City auditors turn up. And they start looking into his financial files, looking into his records, and then they start finding that, well, they're doing this because he's getting checked up on, getting looked into, and they start finding that there's lots of files missing. There's lots of...
oh no.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah. I wonder where they've gone.
There's lots of procedures that aren't being followed. And actually, this is a really big thing. Personally, I don't really know about this country, but in America, there's actual federal procedures that you have to follow in a way you keep account of your business.
The audit trail's got to be followed. It's the same in this country. If you're found to be concealing anything that's happened during that year, you can get destroyed.
Well, even the way you file it, like everything, the way it's set out, it all falls under the general accepted accounting principles. And this is set up by the federal institution in America, like kind of like the FBI and all that. One of those federal institutions is the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, and if you breach how they operate, you can get in a lot of trouble. So you have to follow these set procedures. Now, when he was audited, they found out, he was missing things. He was also, when they looked in deeper, not only he was in breach of all this, that he actually owed taxes. He owed about 2.9 million in taxes. Even though he had the tax abatement, it only
was only
covers
on the tower.
It covers.
No, it was on the Hyatt as well, but it was more complicated than we've led you to believe. But we're still not going to go into it because it's quite a lengthy document.
Right.
He started to pay some tax on certain things, but the amount of tax abatement that he got was enormous.
So it's essentially, as I understand it, it's kind of what they say land rental tax, which is kind of like council tax.
Okay,
which he'd still have to pay.
Yeah.
And for the last 3 years, he'd been kind of fudging his numbers a bit. Or lost paperwork.
You just misplaced.
Yeah.
What happened to the last years of the paperwork, Donald? Oh, you know what? I put it on the side and accidentally I thought it was the side with the panel that I could lay papers on, and it actually turned out to be the shredder. And it's such an easy thing to do.
Well,
and then I thought it was turning on the coffee machine, but it was actually turning on the shredder. And then by the time I realised, you guys were here, and oops.
My bad.
Well, so then there was a whole big, just come to about 2.9 million that he owed. Because he was in business with the Hyatt Hotels chain, it started a lot of confrontation there. Because he was saying, it wasn't me, it was them. It always got nothing to do with us.
It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
You're the one who's doing it. I was a little back and forth, and eventually that led towards Trump attempting to sue the Hyatt.
There's a fucking shocker.
As time goes on, a little bit further down the line, he does end up actually being bought out. There's like counter-suing going back and forth between them and the Hyatt, and he does get bought out later on in '96 for a nice little figure of 142 million.
Tasty.
Considering how much the place is actually still worth, though, that's not. It's nice. But
it's nice, but he got forced.
He got forced out.
Yeah, he got forced out because he was just being ridiculous.
Right.
It was Donald being Donald, essentially.
Yeah. That's how he ended up losing that. But that was another 6 years after that. It was a whole debacle that was going on for quite a while.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, well, this is the problem with this particular part of the story, is that so much happened in the space of a couple of years. Because even at this point, I'm going to mention now all the stuff that was going on with his family life and Ivana. Because we mentioned Donald has now bought the Plaza Hotel, so he could ship Ivana off to New York.
Yeah.
And he could sit with his nice little side piece, Marla Maples, and no one would know. Only it's Donald Trump. Obviously people are going to find out. People know, and he's not exactly being subtle about it. There was times where he was putting on boxing matches. He was sponsoring them, like Trump Plaza presents this amazing boxing match, because beforehand it'd only ever been Vegas and like Madison Square Gardens who'd had these big boxing matches. So Trump decides, I'm going to bring him to Atlantic City, and he sponsors something like the big Tyson fight, and in the same bloody arena he's got his wife sitting next to him, a front row, and then on the opposite side of the ring, front row, because he's got to give us some decent tickets, he's got Marla Maples. So there was employees of the place who knew that they were there, and then they could look one way and they'd see Trump sitting with his wife, and then they'd look the other way and they'd see Marla Maples, and they could see him just like looking at it. And as we mentioned in the previous episode, he was definitely getting off on this.
Yeah.
But it comes to a head where one of Ivana's friends let her know that there was rumours about Trump having an affair. So Ivana actually spoke to him, and he was reassuring. He's like, no, there's nothing going on. Don't worry. And then in 1989, they went on a skiing holiday to Aspen, and in true Trump style, he shipped out Marla Maples to the exact same place at the exact same time and had her staying in a chalet on the same resort.
Fucking ballsy, that lad.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other level. It wasn't just him and Ivana and then his mistress, someone else. It was his whole family. He had the kids there as well. How scummy is that?
Yeah.
So this came to a head when Marla Maples actually confronted Ivana on the slopes and was screaming at her saying, I want your husband wants me, he doesn't want you anymore, he just wants me.
Why would she do that and just I don't know. It's like,
this is
knowing how much of a public figure he is.
I know.
Bitches be whacked, Jack.
That's the answer to that one.
And now for the feminist viewpoint, let's go to Ian Reynolds.
Bitches be crazy.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ian. Nice one. Yeah. So essentially, this all kicked off on the slopes in Aspen, and things kind of died down for a week or two. Nothing really happened. They were talking to each other, and it kind of just got more nasty from there. Originally, Ivana didn't really want to do anything. She was wondering what to do. She spoke to a couple of reporters, and then there's a brilliant quote where this reporter speaks to Donald, and Donald says, I don't want to sleep with a woman who's had children.
Ooh.
And
It's harsh, that like.
well, the reporter turns around and goes, but they're your children. And he's like, well,
And have you seen the size of them?
you
They
know.
destroyed that man. I can't match that.
My son's fat head has destroyed it. Like a wizard sleeve.
It's like, the wind blows through it.
But, I mean, to the mother of your children, that's our ass. That is our ass. But
Yeah.
this obviously is going on at, again, the same time. Ivana's a key member of his organisation. They're going through a nasty divorce, which ends up coming to a head in 92. The tabloids were reporting that she got a massive settlement, but there's never really been any clear figures of what she got from Donald, but that must have taken a decent chunk out of his earnings as well.
Yeah.
And not only that, he lost a really good asset. He lost one of his better managers in the business. Regardless of whether he liked her or not, she was a really, really good asset to the business.
Yeah.
All of this is still going on whilst the Taj is being built, his crown jewel, his amazing hotel that's going to outdo every other hotel in the whole of the US, and it's going to be the best thing in the world ever. So we move to 1990 now in terms of the Taj, and now it's opening day. The Taj is being built. There's been no real calls of troubles at this point. There's been rumours, which we'll get to in a bit. But 1990, opening day, the Taj has got this great big gala opening planned. There's going to be celebrities coming. There's going to be loads of people there to gamble and make it look amazing. The celebrities don't turn up. There's like hundreds of celebrities have been invited. None of them turn up. And then they say, oh, we never really invited anyone in the first place. But there's loads of rumours as to why.
I tell you who
there
did turn up though. Barry Scott. The cellophane guy.
Cellophane guy. Hi, I'm Barry Scott.
He was there, man.
He was everywhere. There was loads of rumours about who was going to be there. So they were saying they've invited Michael Jackson, they've invited loads of famous boxers, they've invited the 90s creme de la creme in terms of celebrity. And the rumours is that all of these people who were invited looked at the invitation and went, I'm not playing with Donald Trump's ego, and just never turned up.
Yeah.
Then you had the actual teething problems of the casino itself. So the only thing that was actually taking real money at that point, because everything else was kind of like fake chip-based money, but not full chips yet, because it was kind of a soft opening, was the slot machines. Now, the slot machines essentially just all broke down, and so did the change machines. So all of this stuff that was supposed to be this amazing, never before seen height of luxury hotel where everything was absolutely perfect was an absolute nightmare in terms of what happened. But Donald being Donald even managed to spin that. So all the reporters were saying to him, oh, well, I heard the opening night was a bit of a letdown because none of the slot machines were working. He's like, oh, no, it was amazing. People were gambling that much. They broke the slot machines. We made so much money. It's like, that's not what happened. That's not how any of this works. But it's at this point as well where the rumours start to become true. So Donald, considering that he's supposed to be worth billions, he's supposed to be a billionaire, the rumours start coming out that he can't pay his bills. The contractors who actually built the Taj, he's on the hook to these contractors for over $70 million. And to cut a long story short, they don't ever really get any of this money back. They get pennies on the pound. They just do not get the money back.
Same with Trump Tower, isn't it?
It was the same with Trump Tower.
That all over again.
He has a great big habit of never paying his contractors, and I don't know how people still work with him. It's like people go, oh, we've got this great contract, who's it with? Trump, don't do it.
Oh yeah, the ice rink as well.
The ice rink, yeah, well, that was
paid, did they?
They were never supposed to be paid. They were supposed to be paid in publicity, but they never even got that.
Oh yeah.
He's just burning bridges, and he's, whether the payment is cash or like publicity or whatever it is, no one's getting it. He's just shitting on everyone, isn't he?
Oh, he's just shitting on everyone. So Taj is open, record breaking. It's looking amazing. Everyone's going there to gamble. It looks fantastic. The problem is, it's still not making enough money. And now we come to the first time that Donald has actually got to make a proper loan payment back on this place, and it looks as though he's going to default on this first loan payment, and that'll look awful in terms of, well, his image.
That would wreck everything, that.
That'd wreck everything, especially considering it's the first loan payment.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, out of nowhere, this random lawyer shows up and he buys $3 million worth of chips and then just decides, I don't feel like gambling, and goes away with this $3 million worth of chips. And it's like, oh my God, it's like God himself sent a lawyer to buy loads of chips that I don't ever have to pay back because they just disappeared. Oh my God, all our problems are solved. And it wasn't my father who paid this lawyer to come in and basically just give me a loan without giving me a loan through the proper channels and paying tax and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's essentially that's what happened. So his dad paid this lawyer to give Donald $3 million without going through the proper channels, without paying tax, without declaring it. And because these chips never were gambled, he then doesn't have to pay income tax on them because essentially they haven't been won. They're essentially just in the vault on hold.
Like still in play almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's essentially just free money. He's just been given free money, and it's a snidey, horrible little way to do it. And eventually, like many, many years later, they do actually get onto him and they do make him pay a pittance of what he should have paid in the first place on what that loan should have been. But the way he just brazenly does it and his dad bails him out is just, that's Donald all over.
So if he's taking all this money off banks or whatever and doesn't pay it all back, what happens with that money? Does that just get written off by the banks or something?
Essentially, if you can't make payments, they will just foreclose on them and they'll start to seize assets.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah.
To basically repay what he owes. Like any time, like a bank's going to give you a loan, you want to make sure that at any point you can get that money back, whether it's a mortgage, I think, or whatever it is. You want to know that you have the assets, even if you don't have the cash, you've got the assets they can just take off you, so that they'll weigh up and say, okay, how much do you want off us? 50 mil. And going, you've got a nice hotel there, you got a thingy there. Okay, I'll just take them off you. We'll just take them off you, resell them, we'll get our money back.
Didn't think about that, I just thought like, what happens with the money? But yeah, makes sense. Possessions next.
The more property he owns and the higher value the property is. This is a clever thing about where he's doing stuff in the media and he's overselling how good like the companies are. It overvalues what the property's actually worth.
Because he's famous.
Yeah, but by him turning around saying this is a multi-billion-pound property and pushing it in the media, the idea is if he's selling that loads and he goes to a bank and goes, I've got like a multi-billion-pound casino and all I want to lend is like just a measly 200 million. Like then you're gonna go, okay, because if it all goes tits up, we can make a fortune by stealing the entire thing.
You lie so much on TV, it becomes truth in reality.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of affects perception, can't it? And that's the concept, and that's kind of what he played off to get these loans. But when things start going tits up and start going bad for them, banks also see that as well.
Yeah.
So when this starts to happen, then banks are like,
well, they're shitting themselves now. Yeah. We gotta get our money.
But banks are like, so can we get our money back, please?
What money?
So obviously he can't afford to default on these repayments, because if he does, then obviously then they can seize his property and that's the
Yeah.
last thing you want. So
Yeah.
that's why his alpha bails him out.
Yeah, I see.
But then,
Okay.
talking about the economy in general, when you get to the level that Trump's at and the level that some other corporations are at, you must have heard the phrase "too big to fail."
Yeah.
Everyone's heard that phrase, and it becomes a point of, if this business goes down and the bank has to foreclose, once they foreclose, they close the business, which means it's not going to make any money, and it's not going to make back the money that the bank is owed, which means the bank will lose money. And then if the bank goes down, then anyone who owes money to the bank has to then pay that money. Or if the bank owes money to someone else, they won't pay it. And it starts this big chain reaction where they go, if this goes down, it's going to take everyone with it.
It will cause a massive recession.
So we can't allow it to happen. And in a small way, that did happen with Trump, is that there's too much money in it. There was too much money in it for it to fail. And he got off so lightly in terms of what happened with it.
Like, there was a lot of things that he would pay for and still put against his assets, which he'd already put up as collateral, and he'd just get more loans and more loans against them, even though they've already accepted that as collateral. He's going to go, well, on some more money, just use that. And once you've already used that as collateral, you shouldn't be able to take it again.
Yeah.
But there was that much money at stake. They were like, shit, okay, yeah, you can have that against it. You can have that against it.
Into a corner,
yeah, and not an increased payment rate as well. Just added to the bill.
What?
Not like, it's not like a separate charge, and okay, now it's a separate loan, so we're going to charge you an increased interest rate or anything like that. No, just gets topped on, just gets put on top. And he's, even when he's defaulting sometimes, he's getting away with it. Do you know what I mean? He's not just with one bank, he's with several large banks.
That's crazy, that.
I say you could cause it's happened before with like the housing market.
Oh yeah, with the housing crash. Yeah,
that's why we have bailouts. Doing the bankers fuck up, even in this country as well, and like
the government bails them out. Yeah,
government bails them out. Why? Because you got to think of the larger picture. Like the whole economy could crash as a domino effect from it.
Even in a smaller term, if you look at a recent one in the UK, Thomas Cook, that failed.
Oh yeah.
Now they were asking for a government bailout. They were asking for assistance so that they didn't collapse. And the government at that point, it was when all the election stuff was going on, and realistically they couldn't organise a piss with a brewery when that was happening, so there's no way they were getting that bailout, even if the government wanted to bail them out. And the chaos that caused, in terms of, there was holidaymakers who were stuck in the hotels abroad because Thomas Cook didn't pay the rest of the bill to the hotels. So the hotels then were going, well, you owe us money, and the holidaymakers are like, well, no, we don't, because we paid Thomas Cook, so why haven't they paid you? And they wouldn't let them leave. There was places in like Egypt where people were getting locked into their rooms and they weren't allowed to leave until they paid up their bill.
Because as far as you're concerned, you've paid for it already.
And that's just some shitty little travel agents. Can you imagine? I mean, that was a couple of $100 million. Can you imagine if a company with billions of dollars worth of assets went under, and what chaos that would cause, especially even just to the people who worked there? And that realistically did happen. It just took a good number of years before the Trump Taj actually finally went under. It was like some weird zombie casino that was just still going and going and going and going, and it was actually around 2016 that it finally closed.
What?
Yeah, it was going for a good number of years.
I didn't know it's closed.
Yeah, well, it's now actually, funnily enough, it's reopened, but it's not the Trump Taj Mahal anymore. It's a Hard Rock Cafe casino.
What? They bought it?
They bought it.
It's not the one with the giant guitar, is it?
It does have a giant guitar.
I've seen a picture of that, dude. If that's the one, that looks sick.
It could. Well, they have a couple. They do have a couple of Hard Rock hotel and casinos. There's one in Vegas. I know there's one in Mexico. There's one in Atlantic City now, but they do have a few.
Yeah.
And all of them, I think, have got some version of the enormous guitar outside. So it could be one of the ones you're thinking of. But it is there now. That is what is now the Taj. Is the Hard Rock Atlantic City.
So,
and it was sold.
Then,
well, the amount of money it cost as well, it was actually sold for 30 cents on the dollar.
It took a massive loss on it. Massive
loss. And even that part, there's a whole other interesting story to this that if I went into would take another hour to explain. But Trump essentially bankrupted that place twice. Because he was still on the board and he still had a 10% stake, and he used his avid Trumpiness to send them down a different route than what the major stakeholder wanted to send them down, and it ended up going bankrupt a second time and getting sold for 30 cents on the dollar.
He's unbelievable, this guy,
he's a legend. He's a legend amongst men. It's
at this point,
us mere mortals can't understand the logic that goes on inside the golden god's head.
At this point, you can just see like everything he has touched just turn into absolute shit.
Yeah, but it's gold painted shit.
Yeah. It's fabulous shit.
It's really sparkly shit. But it's even stuff like the contractors that he stiffed in the making of it. It's ridiculous things like, you know, we were talking about the lobby of the tower.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't gold, it was crystal. If it wasn't crystal, it was marble. He owed something along the lines of $2.7 million to a marble supplier for the Trump Taj Mahal.
What?
Who basically never got paid. They wrote off $2 million worth of the debt and laid off so many workers because they knew they were never getting the money.
Yeah. So it's a mad domino effect on people, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
I mentioned before about how at a funeral he'd actually had the goal to sit there and start making it about himself, and kind of took away from that moment. And it's around about this point in kind of 92 where he thinks, you know what, I can do better. I can go a step further than that and completely shit on their memory. And actually
It's like that world's most interesting man. I don't always shit on the dead, but when I shit on the dead.
And at this point he sits there and he starts openly, not even suggesting, but blaming the financial situation that he's in on Stephen Hyde and the others that died in the crash.
Yeah.
That's scummy.
Yeah,
That's scummy to the nth degree.
Yeah.
There was an interview as well with another one of the execs, and he was saying he had this conversation with Donald, and he was like, "Oh, we need to change the public perception. We'll just blame it on Stephen." And he's like, "Man, you can't do that. These guys are dead. They can't defend themselves." He's like, "Yeah, but they're dead. So what?"
Basically, yeah.
It's like, but
Hey, YOLO.
yeah.
He created YOLO as well, didn't he?
It'd be Tolo, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They only lived once.
But yeah, proper scummy.
It's proper, and he's like, these guys have got families.
Did he end up doing it then? He actually did it?
Oh yeah, he did it. Yeah, he was blaming it on like Stephen Hyde and everything. He just didn't care.
He's just open about it.
Because I don't think I've ever seen it where he's actually saying on live TV or whatever. I've not seen that.
No, it's just it was passing comments because realistically everyone was, well, no one really bought it at that point. They were just like, well, Donald's on his way out at this point. But he was firing it out against everyone. It was just one in a sea of excuses about why he's been so hard done by, and the economy's terrible, so that's why I'm skint, and well, it's Stephen Hyde's fault because he wasn't running the place right before he died, and it's just
it was passing like
it was passing, but he did it.
Just walk out and said all my issues are on them. It was more like that kind of thing that he does where he says, and then they had something to do with it, and then it just keeps doing it and keeps doing it.
Yeah.
But the fact is, he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be saying that. I have said here and said myself is, you know, I hate the fact that everyone always speaks good of the dead, because, you know, I'd like someone to say, yeah, he was a dick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like, apparently when you die, you become a saint.
Well,
But blaming your whole financial...
Tell that to Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one person in history who hasn't become a saint.
Tell that to Mussolini.
You know, it's good qualities.
Guy made some mean pasta.
Yeah. He probably did. Okay. Well, I was with diabetes. I go like to some mafia documentaries during the CIA, like staying with them. And they're always, when they get close, and they're like, "Oh, yeah," he goes, "He's killed all these people and he's done all this, but he can make a mean bolognese." I like this guy.
It's what you say at the end is the only bit that you hear, not the other sentence, not the other bits. So whatever you say at the end, it's like, yeah, he killed loads of people, but he makes a good pizza. It's like, oh, yeah, he makes a good pizza.
That's that guy with the really good pizza.
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember the good pizza guy, yeah.
What's the secret ingredient? Fingers.
I mean, fungi.
I use real human blood in tomato paste.
Tomato paste, lovely. At this point, yeah, he's kind of trying to claw something back to turn around and say, "Oh no, but it's not my fault." You know, he's still trying to save himself in the media's eye. To kind of, I don't know, he's not even actually trying to say the company's still strong, still have faith in us. When you get into that point and you're actually blaming it on a dead guy, you know, you're not really selling your company at that point.
No,
are you? Like a little kid.
It's so low to go there, though.
It's not my fault. It's their fault over there. It's just the blatant childishness of it, and you can see that it's
So
been
did-
going on for years.
So did he lose this other fella? And then after he's accused the guy who died of like...
Oh yeah, he
destroying-
left. He left as well. I mean, realistically, there's not many people who have long-standing careers with Donald.
Yeah.
It's only really ever his family
Yeah.
who seem to have a lot of career longevity with
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
Ah, I see.
And even in terms of the way he runs his business, he only ever really seems to trust his family as well.
Yeah. It keeps it all in the family. Here's some of the comments about his daughter.
Let's not go there, Ian. Let's not go there right now. We'll save this for a later date.
Like on the back of this as well, it's obviously not doing no favours. It's at this point where it's not that he hasn't got loans with even more banks, but 4 of the banks that he's got loans with, the estimated values between about 190 to 210 million between these 4 banks, and they all turn around and say, give us our money back. We don't want nothing to do with this. And this essentially leads to Donald losing the airline that goes under. He has to sell off the Plaza at a loss. He sells...
Oh, is that one that sell the Plaza, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's not forget as well, this is the airline that he bought, the shuttle airline, where he had 24 karat gold cutlery on board. That was how
Oh.
extravagant that was. So that's gone. And then the Plaza, this is the hotel that he bought without even negotiating on the price, and he overpaid for, that he's now selling as a loss.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's at this point you realise that I think he's using basically this tactic. I think everyone here who's listening to this has probably used this tactic in Monopoly.
When your life has gotten to the point where you're actually living like the Monopoly guy, you're in a good place financially.
Well, no, it's when basically you go out, first of all, don't you? You go out and you start buying loads of stuff, and then you look amazing. You think, I've got all this crap, but it's crap, and no one's landing on your crap, and you're not making any money off your crap, but you're landing on else's crap, and everyone wants your money back, and then you're screwed, and you're bankrupt, and you're trying to sell property to people. Go, I'm sorry, can I just mortgage it? Can I pay you back next week? How much money have you got there? Can you give me, Ian? You've landed on that. You owe me £62. No, but I haven't got. Let's see your money, Ian. No, you can't know how much money I've got. No, give me your money. I don't want to give me your money. Right, and
You've got 2 hotels on there. You could sell them.
Yeah. Oh, when all this stuff comes in, like literally, this episode was just reminding me so much of like playing Monopoly when I was a kid. Like quite literally, like his life at this point is just
The downward spiral at the end of a game of Monopoly.
We don't even have to say anything, just go, play Monopoly. Next episode, next week.
Donald Trump plays Monopoly and sucks at it.
Imagine going out first as well. Oh, just bought all the Brown properties. Oh man, I was thinking, get there first, go be the first.
No, but Trump would never go out because he'd beg to be the banker, and then when everyone wasn't looking, he'd just be pocketing all the change.
No, that's me dad. Like, that's what I always wondered why none of us ever won. My arm fella won every time, and it wasn't until we got a bit older and I caught him cheating once, and I went, I cheating, but I went, and as like the game was going on, I went, Dad, do you always cheat? And he's just going, no, and he's just laughing and laughing. I went, have you always cheated? And he went, I went, oh, you bastard! Even as little kids, he's like, I can't risk the winning. I'll be banker.
These little shits aren't gonna get the better of me.
You need to learn that I control the money in this house.
I'm the one who wins.
Oh, I'm gonna go and cry.
Trigger warning. Trigger warning.
So I have to get my kids back with it.
See this? It's a cycle. It just goes around and round. Now Ian's going to cheat every time he plays with his kids. It's just going to keep going.
You progress, don't you? You should do. I've learned how he cheated, and also, more importantly, how he got caught.
Yeah.
I will not make the same mistake. So essentially, we've just summed up in this episode how his life is going to pot, and unfortunately, doesn't quite stay like that. We'd like to end the story there.
I'd like to end that story there. It's like, it sounds like a really kind of,
happy ending.
The The candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. It's kind of story. But no, he lingers around like the true fart that he is and doesn't go away.
It's like that bloke, the trick candles.
Oh, yeah. Blow it out. Just need to come back. Why won't you come out?
Extinguishing on it like that. Oh, fuck!
The candle is like his hair now, gripping on when he's walking through wind. I will never go out.
Seriously, though, that hair is like the spectre of hair that was once there. It's like just some sort of...
Or like a Jag hologram. Like,
yeah. It looks like the outline of a... It's like whenever the sun shines behind his head, it's like the outline of a comb over. It's not even like there's a full body there. It's just like there's an outline and it's like a ghost.
So
it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost on his head.
He's constantly got the guys out of the special effects guys out of Star Wars just following him.
Industrial Light and Magic just painting his hair in every frame. He's actually bald as a coot.
Is that like some Father Ted or something he gets paid that he walk around as toupee, and every time he's turning the toupee on top of his head. Oh, on a note, actually, in Father Ted, this is a shout out to someone who told me this after we were ranting and going, "Where's that from?" The money's just resting in my account. It's from Father Ted.
Oh, is it?
It's from Father Ted. As soon as he told it to me, I'm like, "Where's it from?" And then he's like, "It's Ted himself, where the money was just resting in his account." And I'm like, "No!"
It's when he receives the golden cleric and he's going, the money was just resting in my account.
It was just resting in my account. So when we were talking about Trump Senior and the government money resting in his account, and we were frantically trying to remember where that was from, that's where that's from.
Oh, yes. Father Ted for the win.
So shout out to the guy who told me that. You know who you are.
Unfortunately, folks, that's all we've got time for today. Join us next week.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about the media years and Trump's kind of rise to prominence in terms of the image that we've all got of him now. Really, at this point, he's at a low, and people think he's a bit of a failure, and we're going to see how he turns that around.
By just being in loads of films, cameos and stuff.
By just being in literally everything. The guy's just everywhere.
He works his magic. Like, this is where we've mentioned in previous episodes where he's got that business savvy, right? And even though he's an absolute idiot, when it comes to certain things, he's extremely clever. And wow, you're going to see him work.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, his face does some serious work.
Yeah. His butt cheeks do some
So thanks for joining us again. As always, down in the description we have our social media links, we have our email. If you would like to get in touch with us, please do so. Share with us your comments, share with us any ideas for future stories. We are always happy to receive them. And please like, share and subscribe. If you can pass us on to anyone you know who may like us, it only helps us grow, and helps us produce more content of us idiots talking rubbish about people in the media, really. Chatting some wham. So we will see you next time, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, folks.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.